I inherited an island off the coast of Georgia 6 months ago. At first, I thought it would be a peaceful escape. Just me and the sea. I was 35 and ready to start fresh. I wanted to dive into my marine research without distractions. The first few weeks were great. I spent my days exploring the woods and the beach. But then things changed. On the second night, I heard rustling outside my window. I tried to ignore it. It could have been a raccoon or a deer. But then I heard laughter, faint and echoing across the water. My heart raced. I thought I was alone on this island. I opened the door and looked around. The trees swayed in the wind. Nothing was out there. I closed the door, telling myself it was just my imagination. I tried to sleep, but I couldn't shake the uneasiness. Days passed, and I noticed strange things. The tides behaved differently, pulling and pushing in ways I didn't recognize. Then, I found symbols in the sand, zigzag lines and circles. I took pictures, thinking they might be interesting for my research. I wasn't sure what they meant, but they felt important somehow. Shadows flitted through the trees. I often thought I saw something in the corner of my eye. Every time I looked, nothing was there. But then I found footprints near my door. They were too small to be mine. I felt cold. Someone was out there. I considered leaving, but I didn't want to give up. I told myself I could make this work. I was looking for peace, and I wouldn't let fear drive me away. But my nights grew restless. One evening, I sat on the porch, feeling someone watching me. I glanced toward the woods, expecting to see someone standing there. Only darkness met my eyes. I found a dusty book in the cottage, one that spoke of watchers of the sea. I thought it was just local legends, but what if it meant something? As I read, my hands shook. Did I want to know the truth? That thought haunted me. Then I heard the laughter again. This time it felt so close, chilling me to the bone. I turned sharply to the trees. Silence. Maybe this place was more than I thought. Maybe I wasn't alone. One evening, I stared into the shadows, thinking I was going crazy. Just then, I saw her. For a split second, a figure flickered like a candle in the wind. I blinked. Was that real? My heart raced, and confusion washed over me. Everything felt unreal. I needed to know what was happening. I searched the woods, the beach, everywhere. Each time I thought I found a clue, it slipped through my fingers. My determination grew stronger. I refused to let fear control me. As the days turned into weeks, I felt my grip on reality weaken. I became consumed by shadows and whispers. Something was out there, keeping watch. But what were they waiting for? I couldn't let this fear win. I would find out what was watching me. Somehow, I would uncover the truth. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of the waves crashing against the shore. They seemed louder than before, as if trying to warn me of something. I rubbed my eyes and tried to shake off the fog of sleep. The day felt heavy, heavier than the previous ones. I decided to go back to the beach. Maybe the symbols I'd found in the sand would help me figure out what was happening. I walked down the familiar path. The sunlight barely broke through the leaves, casting long shadows on the ground. A chill crept down my spine, and I quickened my pace. When I reached the beach, I scanned the shoreline for any new markings. My heart dropped when I saw them. More symbols, arranged in a circle this time. Zigzag lines intertwined with circles, forming a pattern that felt ancient. I knelt down, taking out my phone to capture the scene. Just as I was clicking the shutter, I heard a splash in the water. I shot up, my heart racing. I peered out toward the ocean. Had I imagined it? No, there it was again, a figure in the distance, bobbing gently with the waves. It was too far to see clearly, but something about it felt wrong. My gut twisted with unease. I took a few cautious steps toward the water, squinting to get a better look. That S when I noticed the figure was turning toward me. It looked like a woman, her long hair caught in the wind. I felt a surge of panic. My instincts screamed at me to run, but curiosity rooted me to the spot. Did she belong to the shadows I had seen? Was this the watcher I had been sensing? Just as suddenly as she appeared, she submerged back below the water. I held my breath, waiting for her to resurface. Instead, the waves settled down, leaving no trace of the strange figure. A heavy silence enveloped me. The beach felt empty and lifeless, the vibrant sound of the ocean replaced by a deep calmness that was unsettling. Then I remembered the book. I rushed back to the cottage, driven by a mix of fear and determination. I flipped through the dusty pages, searching for anything related to the Watchers or the ocean spirit. My fingers trembled as I found a passage that mentioned the lost one's spirits who roamed the seas, seeking something or someone. I paused. What was this island hiding? I couldn't help but think of the laughter, the shadows, and now the woman in the water. Everything was connected in ways I didn't yet understand. As I read, a sound broke through the stillness. A faint giggle echoed from the woods behind me. I jolted up and turned. The laughter was unmistakable. It was close, too close. Quickly, I grabbed my flashlight and moved cautiously toward the sound. The brambles rustled as I approached, but I didn't see anyone. Hello? I called, my voice quivering. No answer. Then everything went dark. The cottage lights blinked and extinguished, leaving me surrounded by eerie silence. My heart raced, and I felt panic rise within me. I needed to get out of there. But the shadows loomed closer, whispering secrets I was desperate yet terrified to uncover. I stumbled back, my heart pounding in the pitch-black room. My flashlight flickered, momentarily casting weak beams of light that danced around the room like frightened fireflies. I could feel the weight of the darkness pressing down on me, almost suffocating. I fumbled with the flashlight, hoping it wouldn't fail me entirely. Then, just as it steadied, a shadow flickered across the window, and my blood ran cold. Was someone out there? I squinted, trying to see through the darkness, but the woods were impenetrable. Is anyone out there? I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. Silence answered me. My mind raced back to the symbols on the beach, the figure in the water, the laughter. Why was this happening? Was the island truly cursed? I gripped the flashlight tighter, my knuckles turning white. With every passing moment, I felt the unseen presence tightening around me. Suddenly, I heard the distinct sound of a branch snapping outside. My breath caught in my throat. I backed away from the window, pressing myself against the wall. Every instinct told me to hide, but where could I go? The cottage was small. There was no escape from whatever or whoever was lurking out there. I tiptoed toward the door, making sure I stayed silent. The air felt heavy as I turned the handle slowly, praying it wouldn't creak. In the stillness, the door swung open without any sound. My heart rushed in my ears. I peered outside, illuminating my surroundings with the narrow beam of my flashlight. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow over the beach. I focused on the woods, where the laughter had echoed just moments earlier. There was nothing there, just the swaying trees and the whisper of the wind. Maybe I was just imagining things. But then, from the corner of my eye, I saw movement near the edge of the water. I swung the flashlight around, my heart racing again. A figure stood at the shoreline drenched in moonlight. It was a girl, her hair wild and tangled, staring out at the horizon. My gut twisted. Was she the one I had seen in the water? My impulse was to call out to her, ask her what she was doing there, but I froze. Instead, I took a step back, my breath hitching in my throat. That S when I heard it again, the laughter. This time it was louder, closer, swirling around me like a tempest. I felt the impulse to run, but my legs seemed to meld into the ground. Then I realized that I didn't just feel watched, I felt trapped. I glanced back into the darkness of the cottage where I had been moments ago. The tension pulled me in both directions. That's when the girl turned. Her eyes locked onto mine from across the shore, piercing through the night. I felt a chill creep up my spine as a realization washed over me. She was not just watching the ocean, she was watching me. In that moment, I was no longer alone. I was part of something much larger than myself, and the weight of the island's secrets pressed down with a new intensity. Without thinking, I turned and ran. I dashed into the shadows of the woods, branches snagging at my clothes, the laughter still echoing, shaping the path ahead. I would uncover the truth behind the shadows, even if it meant confronting the darkness I had stumbled into. My legs pumped beneath me as I zigzagged through the trees. I could hear my breath echoing like a drumbeat in my ears while the laughter swirled behind me, teasing and tormenting. Each step felt like I was dashing deeper into a nightmare, and still the laughter pulled me back, begging me to look. I knew I had to keep moving. The woods felt alive, shadows stretching and shifting, taunting me as I stumbled over roots and underbrush. The flashlight flickered again, threatening to leave me in the clutches of darkness. Each time it dimmed, fear clawed at my throat. What if it went out completely? Then, ahead, I spotted a clearing. Moonlight spilled onto the ground, illuminating my escape route. I dashed toward it, desperate for the safety of the open space. As I burst into the clearing, my feet met soft, white sand, and I skidded to a halt. The beach lay before me, silver waves rolling softly against the shore. But then, I froze as something caught my eye. A figure stood among the rocks to my right. It was the girl again, her wild hair framed by the moonlight, now closer than before. Her eyes glinted, locked onto mine with an unnerving intensity. "Why are you running?" she asked, her voice sweet yet laced with an edge of something darker. Chills raced through me. I wanted to run again, to flee from her gaze, but my body betrayed me. I couldn't look away. I don't know," I stammered, trying to sound defiant. "What do you want?" The laughter echoed around us, now clearer, as if the woods themselves were mocking me. The girl stepped closer, her bare feet lightly padding through the sand. "You've come to the island, but you didn't come to play." "Play?" I repeated, bewildered. "What do you mean?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You saw the symbols. You heard the stories. This place is alive with secrets, and not everyone is ready to uncover them." What was she talking about? I felt the prickling sensation of fear creeping back in. I felt as if I were standing on the edge of a cliff, every instinct screaming for me to jump back. "What happened to you? Why are you here?" Her smile faded, replaced by a look of deep sadness. "I was one of us until I wasn't anymore. They take what they want, and they take you too." Before I could ask another question, a rustle came from the trees behind me. My instincts kicked in, and without thinking, I spun around just in time to see a shadow dart away, flickering like a flame before disappearing into the dark. "It's not just me," the girl said, her voice almost a whisper. "They're coming. You need to find the truth before it finds you." Before I could respond, a wave of shadows washed over me, swallowing the clearing in black. Panic bubbled in my chest. I felt disoriented, the world spinning, and in that moment, I knew I had to choose. I could call out to the girl. I could demand answers. But somewhere deep inside, a voice urged me to flee again. Then everything went dark. I gasped, my breath hitching in the oppressive darkness. A sudden urgency surged through me. I was immobilized, caught in a void where time felt distorted. Was it minutes or seconds? Then, just as quickly as it had engulfed me, the darkness receded. I blinked against the sudden brightness, my heart still racing. I lay on the sand, the waves whispering at my feet. The girl was gone. Pushing myself up, I scanned the clearing. Had it all been a dream? The laughter faded, replaced by eerie silence. But no, the lingering sensation in my gut told me otherwise. Something was wrong. I stumbled to my feet and noticed my flashlight flickering weakly beside me. I clenched it tightly. Being in the dark again felt like inviting a predator closer. I needed to find shelter, anything that could shield me. I turned back to the line of trees, hesitating. The girl's warning echoed in my mind, their ominous weight weighing heavier than I wanted to admit. They take what they want. Who were they? With no other option, I surged into the underbrush. I had to hurry, to find safety before whatever hunted me discovered where I was. Each crunch of leaves beneath my feet set my nerves alight. My eyes darted around as shadows twisted and turned. After what felt like an eternity, I came upon an old cabin. It stood crooked, half hidden by vines and overgrown shrubs. It looked ancient, but the door hung ajar, inviting yet foreboding. I stepped cautiously inside. The air was stale and thick with dust, the wooden floor creaking beneath my weight. The faint outline of furniture shimmered in the dim light, the remnants of a life long abandoned. As I stepped further in, I spotted something on the wall, a collection of symbols carved deep into the wood. I moved closer, brushing away cobwebs. They were similar to the symbols I'd seen in town, the ones that had sparked those hushed conversations. Then I saw it. A faded photograph on the mantelpiece caught my eye. It was an image of the girl, her smile vibrant, surrounded by people who felt strangely familiar. I leaned in, squinting. But then I froze. Behind her in the photo, I recognized a shadowy figure lurking just out of the frame. My instinct screamed that I had to leave, but curiosity held me in place. Suddenly, a noise broke the stillness, a rustle outside the cabin. My heart dropped. I could hear soft footsteps drawing near, almost as if someone was approaching slowly, intentionally. I quietly backed away, adrenaline surging as I clutched the flashlight, ready to defend myself. The door creaked louder, groaning on its hinges. I couldn't stay here. But where could I go? That's when I noticed a trapdoor in the corner, barely visible beneath the layers of dust. I felt torn. I could either hide in the shadows or take my chances with whatever was coming. Before I could think clearly, the door swung open, and a cold breeze swept in. I held my breath, knowing I had to decide fast. Then, the footsteps paused, and a voice called out, slicing through the tension. "Hello?" I had to choose. I bolted for the trapdoor, adrenaline surging as I dropped to my knees. With shaking hands, I pulled at the creaky handle, praying it would give way. The footsteps were muffled now, echoing around me with a sinister rhythm. My gut twisted tighter. "Is anyone there?" The voice called again, closer this time. I could barely recognize the tone, a hint of concern wrapped in a thick layer of dread. The handle turned with surprising ease, and I yanked the door open. A dark void stared back at me, but the urge to escape outweighed my fear of the darkness below. I scrambled down the wooden ladder into the cramped space, the air thick with old earth and mustiness. I landed softly on the damp ground and quickly pulled the door shut above me. I pressed my back against it, bracing for a sound, a force, anything. My flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows on the walls lined with dirt and stone. My heart raced in sync with the fading light. "Hello? Is someone there?" The voice again, softer now, more uncertain. I felt a slight wave of guilt. Maybe it was just a wanderer, looking for help. But who roamed these woods at night? I shook the thought away. I was alone. Or was I? The air grew cooler, a damp chill that crawled over my skin like fingers. I squinted into the darkness, searching for anything that might provide me some comfort. Then, something caught my eye, a faint, shimmering outline across the corner. It looked like a mirror. I crept toward it, careful to stay silent. As I drew closer, I realized it wasn't just a mirror, it was a polished surface set into the wall. The glass was cloudy with age, but I could still see my reflection flickering. In the dim light, I looked pale and gaunt, eyes wide with fear. Then, to my horror, I noticed something beside me in the reflection, an outline, no more than a shadow. It appeared behind me, flickering in and out of sight. I spun around, breath catching in my throat. Nothing. Just pure darkness. I turned back to the mirror, almost hypnotized. The figure lingered, intensifying as my heart pounded. Its shape was undefined, shifting like smoke. Suddenly, it vanished, and I stumbled back against the wall, gasping. My flashlight started to dim further, and I frantically shook it. Come on, come on. There was no time. I couldn't stay here longer. I had to find a way out. As I prepared to leave, my trembling grip on the flashlight slipped, and it fell, rolling away into the shadows. Panic swept through me. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to move toward the sound of footsteps still echoing overhead. I had to trust my instincts. Whatever had been watching me, the girl, the symbols, the fleeting shadows, had to be connected. As I crept back toward the trapdoor, I heard a whisper, so quiet I almost missed it. Help me. The voice was low, almost begging. I hesitated, torn between the desire to escape and the urge to uncover the truth. But the urgency rattling in my chest made the choice clear. I wasn't the only one in danger here. I reached for the door, ready to climb back up and confront whatever waited above. Whatever horrors lay in store, I couldn't turn back now. I pushed against the trapdoor, my heart pounding. With a grunt, it creaked open, revealing the dim light filtering down from the world above. I poked my head up carefully, scanning for movement. Nothing. The quiet was unsettling. Just the rustle of branches swaying in the breeze outside. I took a deep, calming breath and pulled myself up, feeling an oppressive weight in my chest. My flashlight lay on the ground, useless. I climbed out onto the wood floor, looking around the old cabin. Dust danced in the air, illuminated by the faint light from the window. I took a couple of hesitant steps, feeling the floorboards creak beneath me. Why wasn't the girl calling out anymore? I needed to find her, but part of me feared what I might discover. I moved toward the door leading to the outside, hand trembling on the handle. Just as I pushed it open, an unsettling thought gripped me. What if the voice hadn't been a plea for help, but a lure? I stepped outside, the cool night air brushing against my skin. The moon hung low, casting long shadows across the ground. I paused, letting my eyes adjust. The woods loomed before me, dark and thick. It felt as if something was hiding between the trees, watching. Hello? I called out, my voice sounding small and distant in the night. There was no answer. Just an echo of my own word, swallowed by the woods. I took a few steps down the rutted path, listening for anything, a whisper, a crack of a branch. Then I heard it again. A soft rustling followed by a quick footstep. My breath hitched as I turned in the direction of the sound. I could barely make out a figure moving just beyond the tree line. Who's there? I shouted, feeling a mix of fear and anger. I wasn't going to retreat into the darkness again. Then I heard the voice. It was quieter now, almost a whisper among the trees. Help me. Without thinking, I rushed toward the sound. The woods swallowed me as I hurried through the underbrush. My heart raced. I could feel something stirring in the air, an electric tension crackling around me. Finally, I burst into a small clearing. The moonlight pooled on the ground, revealing a tall stone structure, an altar of sorts, covered in strange markings. Symbols were etched deeply into the stone, glistening as if they were alive. I felt a pull toward it, a strange compulsion to touch the surface. As I reached out, a flicker of movement caught my eye. I turned sharply, but whatever had been watching me was gone. A chill ran down my spine. I took a step back and stumbled. Something crunched beneath my foot. Looking down, I saw a small, tattered book half buried in the dirt. It looked old, worn, and its pages fluttered lightly in the breeze, that S when I saw it. A silhouette in the distance, emerging from the woods, moving swiftly toward me. Adrenaline spiked as I realized I wasn't alone anymore. I couldn't tell if I should run or stand my ground. But one thing was sure, I had to know who or what was coming my way. I squinted into the darkness, trying to make sense of the figure moving toward me. It was tall and slender, the moonlight glinting off something in its hands. My heartbeat quickened, and I felt a cold sweat on my forehead. "Who are you?" I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. The figure paused, and my instinct screamed at me to run, but curiosity kept my feet rooted to the ground. "Help me," it said. The voice was faint, almost familiar, like the echo of the girl I had chased through the trees. My heart dropped as I instinctively took a step back. The closer it got, the more I could make out the details. It was a young woman, hair wild and matted, skin pale and smeared with dirt. "Stay back!" I shouted, raising my hands defensively. There was something in her eyes that sent icy fingers creeping down my spine. Fear? Desperation? Or something else? "I'm not going to hurt you," she replied, her tone softening, but the words felt hollow in the air between us. "Please, I need your help." "Where's the girl?" I managed to ask. Her gaze flickered. She's in danger." I tried to warn her. I blinked, feeling a wave of confusion. The woods suddenly felt alive, shadows shifting just out of sight. "What danger? Who are you?" She hesitated, glancing behind her. "She's part of it. The altar it holds them. You must listen," she urged, taking another cautious step forward, her hands trembling. Before I could reply, a low growl resonated from the trees, cutting the air between us like a knife. I whipped around, scanning the darkness, my throat drying up. "What was that?" "It's coming for us," she shouted. Panic rushed through me as the growl grew louder, echoing from all directions. "Run!" I yelled, grabbing her arm. I didn't stop to think, I just took off down the narrow path away from the altar, my feet pounding against the forest floor. She followed closely, her breaths quickening beside me. Branches clawed at my clothes and the underbrush tangled at my feet. I could sense something pursuing us, a presence stalking just out of sight. The growl transformed into a shriek, almost human-like, as it echoed through the trees. "Over here!" I heard her call. She darted off the path toward a thicket, pulling me with her. We tumbled into the low brush, heartbeats racing as we pressed ourselves against the ground. "What the hell is chasing us?" I gasped, trying to catch my breath. "I don't know, but it won't stop until it finds me." The desperation in her voice sent chills down my spine. I wanted to run, escape this nightmare, but I was trapped by a fear more profound than the threat pursuing us. Just then, a flash of movement drew my attention to the edge of the thicket. My blood ran cold. There, in the moonlight, stood something unnaturally tall, its features obscured. It turned its head toward us, and I felt the weight of its gaze. A sudden realization gripped me. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just hunting her. It was watching me too. "Stay quiet," I whispered, trembling. But deep down, I knew we were out of time. The tension hung thick in the air. I could barely breathe as I held my breath, eyes locked on the dark silhouette at the edge of the thicket. It moved slightly, almost as if sensing our fear, and I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. I stole a quick glance at the girl beside me. Her wide eyes stared up at me, reflecting both terror and urgency. "Do you have a plan?" I whispered, hoping to ground myself in some form of action instead of just sitting there paralyzed. "No," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "But if we just stay quiet, it might." A sudden rustle came from the bushes nearby, followed by a low, guttural sound that sent chills racing down my spine. The tall figure shifted again, then stepped closer. My blood ran colder. It was impossibly tall, towering over the trees, and its face was still obscured by shadows. Now's not the time to be passive, I thought. Panic surged, clawing at my throat. We need to move. I grabbed her wrist and pulled her up. Come on. I hissed, adrenaline surging through me. We couldn't stay here any longer, this thing was too close. As we stumbled back away from the thicket, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps crushing leaves and twigs. It was strong, deliberate. I didn't dare look back. The growling noise morphed again, now echoing with more intensity as if something was agitated. Where do we go? She asked, her breath quickening again. Anywhere but here. I shouted, darting to the right, hoping to put some distance between us and whatever was hunting us. We sprinted deeper into the woods, weaving through the trees, hearts racing as the underbrush snagged at our shoes. The moon was barely visible, trapped behind clouds, rendering the forest a dark maze. I focused on the sound of my feet hitting the ground, my eyes scanning for any sign of a way out. Just as I thought we had gained some distance, a loud crash echoed somewhere behind us, followed by a resonating roar that sent a jolt through my entire body. My instincts kicked in, and I shoved her toward a nearby tree. Hide! We ducked behind the thick trunk, breaths rapid and shallow as we pressed ourselves into the rough bark. My mind raced. What the hell was that? And why was it so intent on finding her? It knows me, she stammered, tears pooling in her eyes. It's not just after anyone. It's after me. I stared at her, trying to piece together the fragments spinning in my mind. Why? What did you do? I don't have time to explain. Just keep us safe, she whispered, her voice wavering. I wanted answers. I needed them. But the looming presence was closing in, and I could feel the pressure building in the silence. The growl returned, low and guttural, vibrating through the brush around us. Then, I saw a flicker of movement. Something darting between the trees. It's coming. I hissed, pulling her closer. Suddenly, a flash of silver caught my eye, the glint of something sharp, perhaps a weapon? I squinted to see better, my heart racing as I tried to make sense of it. But before I could react, the distant roar exploded again, and everything went black as the darkness swallowed us whole. I gripped her hand tightly, fear pulsating through me. I wasn't sure what waited for us in that dark, but I knew one thing: it was only getting closer. I stumbled through the dark, breathless and panicked, the weight of the unseen terror behind me propelling me forward. The growling had transformed into an echoing banshee-like wail, a sound so primal it gripped my heart with paralysis. But the girl beside me pulled me back to reality, urgency glinting in her eyes. Over here. She hissed, veering to the right. Without thinking, I followed her into the thicket of trees. We ducked low, the air thick with tension like the stillness before a storm. Shadows flickered around us, closing in as we pressed ourselves against the earthy ground, cloaked in darkness. Every rustle of leaves around us felt charged, waiting for something to break the fragile calm. What are we going to do? I whispered, fighting to keep my breath steady, but my voice cracked with tension. She turned to me, her face pale and drawn. We wait. If it's looking for me, it might not be able to see us here. The growl grew closer, mixed now with harsh, ragged breaths, and I felt my grip tighten on her wrist. She flinched at the pressure. I hadn't meant to be rough. I took a breath, trying to swallow my fear. Let us keep moving. We can't just suddenly. The silence shattered. A brush of footsteps thundered across the foliage, snapping branches as it approached. My heart raced, and a part of me screamed to run, but I pressed my back into the bark of the tree, holding my breath. An eye shimmered in the dark, sweeping our hiding spot, and I felt the hair on my neck stand on end. Then a screech tore through the night, echoing through the woods like a siren. It's here. I froze, terror locking my body in place. The creature, whatever it was upon us, clawing and crashing through the underbrush, its massive form looming closer. The moonlight broke through the clouds, illuminating a glimpse of the beast, a shadow that defied nature, streaks of darkness coiling and twisting. "Run!" I lunged forward, pulling her with me as we bolted through the trees. I could feel the air shift, something large and powerful in pursuit. It was almost as if the shadows themselves were alive, echoing our footsteps, willing us to break free. I drew closer to a clearing up ahead, a wide expanse edged by dense trees and glistening moonlight that I crashed through the branches and stumbled into the clearing. "Over here!" I called to her. I needed her close. As we emerged from the dense underbrush, I spotted a fainter glow on the far side, an arch of stone, ancient but sturdy. The altar from before. "Head toward it!" I shouted, adrenaline coursing through me as I sprinted ahead, dragging her along. The altar seemed like a refuge, a sanctuary against whatever hunted us. But even then, as we neared it, the growl morphed into something almost merciful, alluring even, calling our names. The girl hesitated, lingering behind me, eyes wide. "What's happening?" she whispered. But I didn't have time to answer. The screech came again, sharper, closer, and instinct drove me forward. We reached the altar, the symbols glowing and pulsing beneath our palms as I pressed against it, gasping for breath. This is it," I stammered, shaking off the haze of fear that clung to me. "It's the link. We can use it." The girl looked at me, unsure, fear blending with hope. "What do we do?" "Touch the symbols. They must hold the connection," I urged, my heart racing as the growl approached, filling my senses. As we pressed our hands against the weathered stone, it came alive beneath our touch, an energy coursing through us. Suddenly, the growl halted, replaced by an otherworldly stillness. I glanced over my shoulder just in time to see the monstrosity emerge, shadowy and twisted, its limbs stretching like a grotesque collection of limbs and claws. I gasped, trying not to show my fear. "Now!" I shouted, and at that moment everything shifted. A blinding light erupted from the altar, arcing across the clearing, illuminating the woods. For a brief moment, I could see the creature in full, its eyes hollow, its form a chaotic swirl of darkness. Then, a screech pierced the air filled with rage and confusion as the light enveloped the beast, rendering it immobile in a painful silhouette. I could feel a surge of energy surrounding us, a force pulling at the creature, tightening its hold. Whatever bonds it had with this island seemed to be breaking. The girl's eyes widened as she matched my gaze, understanding flooding her expression. "Let us get out of here!" she screamed, breaking the trance that held us both. Together, we stumbled toward the edge of the clearing, the light pulsing behind us as we fled, heart pounding in sync with every frantic stride. I dared not look back, driven by the need to escape. We weaved through the trees, narrowly missing branches that might have ripped us apart. Finally, we broke free of the forest line and onto the beach, gasping for air. The ocean waves whispered welcomingly against the shore, a soothing balm after the chaos. We stood panting, surveying the horizon, the creature's roar fading behind us. The light from the altar flickered behind the trees, casting a ghostly glow as if it mourned what stood no longer, yet, peace was laced with uncertainty. I looked to the girl beside me. "Did we stop it? Is it over?" "I don't know," she replied slowly, glancing back toward the woods. "But we broke its hold, at least for now." Her words hung in the air, a fragile promise that felt incomplete. The waves washed over the shore, and I could still hear laughter echoing softly, just out of reach, mingling with the sounds of the sea. I wondered if I had truly left its clutches behind or if they would always shadow my path. Unanswered questions formed like clouds in my mind. Why was she tied to this place, and could I ever truly understand the depths of its magic? After a moment, we turned away from the woods, toward the promise of new beginnings. The island felt different now, heavy with secrets, but also alive the way it had always wanted to be. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if the girl is still there, if those whispers still haunt the beach. But mostly, I try not to think about it.